Hello and welcome to the Cinch YouTube channel, where today we've got a car from a brand that is new to the UK. This is the BYD Atto 3, and yes, it's another electric crossover, but it has many unique features, including a guitar door. But first, if you want to build your dreams, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Now, it's worth jumping straight into the interior of the Atto 3 because it's by far the most interesting thing about this car. The exterior design is pretty normal, and we'll talk about how it drives when we hit the road in just a second. But this being the top grade design trim, you can also get comfort and active models, which start from as little as 36.5 grand, and this is just under 39 grand. Well, this means it gets all of the trimmings, leather seats, you get different colored stitching, and of course, you get all of the technology in this car. And those quirky features, well, they're shared across all of the models, and they definitely deserve a closer look. Now, the first thing is this whacking great infotainment screen in the middle of the dash. Look what it does, it rotates. And I think that's the first time that's gone into a car, certainly a car of this value. And while it might seem a bit gimmicky at first, it actually means you can personalize the display to suit your preferences. If you prefer a screen to have 3 things on it at all times, well, this is going to be the mode for you. But if you prefer the screen to display your menus a little bit wider, and actually I think better position so that it doesn't block the road view ahead of you, well, this is the view you're going to want to use. And it all works really quickly. All of the menus respond so fast, just like a smartphone, and it has a really effective voice control, which I'll show you when we're on the road. But I think actually probably the biggest Achilles heel of this is that fact that while it has Apple CarPlay, it doesn't have Android Auto, which does seem a little bit unfair on a lot of smartphone users. But for the rest of us, well, gimmicky and quite smart. Now, the rest of the interior also has quite a few unique features. These are quite chunky, and I'm not sure if I like them, but they do work, and the air conditioning system can be controlled by the voice control. And by contrast, there's an unusually small screen in front of the steering wheel. It might remind you of those Tonka toy trucks where you'd have the screen in front and you'd play with it as a kid and have to steer with the graphics in front. Well, this thing, well, it does a little bit more than that. It tells you a lot of information. There's a lot of data packed into a small space. But weirdly, it doesn't seem to be perfectly upright. To me, the screen seems a bit off. What do you think? And then there's the door handles, which, well, are these handles? I don't think they are, because you put your hand on top of them, you pull them back, and then you push the door open with your elbow. Very unique. And then there's the gear selector, which looks like it's been pulled out of a spacecraft, but it does act in a normal way. And yes, we have a rotary control for the volume, so you're not going to be fiddling with the infotainment screen. But why is there a start-stop button in an electric car? Can EV makers stop doing this? Surely, once you've got the car in park, it's off. And now let's go from the quirky stuff to, well, just the plain old weird. Now, this is our guitar feature on the door here, which could possibly be the greatest invention for people who are bored in traffic jams, because these strings actually play different notes. But I think more likely, this is going to be the biggest headache for parents with annoying kids. Because can you imagine this for the whole journey? Because they're in the back as well. Now, in the back, it's a bit more of a standard affair. You've got a good amount of space. This seat is how I like it, and I'm comfortable. Lots and lots of knee room, and headroom, while not class leading, is pretty good. The seats are comfortable, and it is a genuine 5-seater, although if you've only got 4 in the back, you do get this armrest with your cup holders. But an interesting thing is that even if you're sat here, you can still control the infotainment system with that voice control, as I'll demonstrate now. Hey, BYD, open the sunroof. See, that's pretty handy. Or again, it could be quite annoying for the driver. Now in the back, firstly, you get an electric tailgate in this top model, but it actually hasn't got that much in the way of boot space. The boot here is pretty narrow. It really is noticeably so as well, but you do get some underfloor storage handily, and there's quite a lot as well. So if you look in here, there's a bit of room. You can hide your charge cables in here, and there's some other bits here, some of the safety kit, and there's some pretty deep cubby holes down there. But overall, it's not the biggest boot, so you're not going to be buying this car for its boot space, but you might be buying it for how it drives. So let's hit the road and see what it's like. All right, so we're driving in an urban environment, which is most likely where this type of car, the Atto 3, is going to spend its time. And in those settings, well, it gets pretty competitive stats. It will do 260 miles between charges. That's according to the manufacturer, but I have seen that today, and the mileage has come down at pretty much bang on what I've been doing on the open road and in town. And also, it will crack the 0 to 62 mile an hour sprint in 7.3 seconds. It will top out at 99 miles per hour. So it's where it needs to be. And also, if you plug it in, it will charge from about 10 to 80% in about 40 minutes. So all of those numbers are what they need to be for this class. And well, it does actually feel pretty nippy. It's quick off the line. It's front wheel drive, but doesn't have any problem putting the power down, nippy away from the traffic lights. brakes feel good, pedal regulation is nice, the steering is very, very light. I mean, I can steer with pretty much just one finger of each hand, and the visibility around the car is great as well. That's a standard without the tech features, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, the car does feel a little bit fidgety over some bumps. If I go over just some cracks in the road there, you can feel the weight of the car. It does ride nicely, it doesn't roll around, but it just sort of thuds into some bumps, and you might be able to hear it through the camera there. But actually, over bigger bumps, it's really good and really soft. If you go over a speed hump at 20-ish miles per hour, it just smooths the whole bump out. So it's that second stage of the damping that feels really, really good. But there's also some tech to help you out and make the driving experience, especially in tight, twisty roads like this, a little bit easier. And to make things even easier, the turning circle of this car is really very good. It doesn't have any boot space under the bonnet, which is a shame because there's not really much in the way of technical stuff high up under the bonnet. But it does at least mean there's quite a lot of room for the wheels to turn. So if I, for example, wanted to reverse around a corner like this, I can do so with that good visibility, good cameras, and really good steering lock as well. I mean, that has made mincemeat at that angle. Most cars I would have needed to have backed up once more, but this thing just goes around the corner. All right, so now we're out on some slightly quicker roads. So let's see how it feels in its different drive modes. I'll click it straight into sport, and let's see what it feels like under power. Nippy electric stuff. It definitely feels the just over 7 seconds car that it is to 62 miles per hour. Nippy off the line, no issues with traction. There's also a eco mode as well, and you can also adjust the regen to turn up basically the regenerative technology so it can recover more energy and hopefully slow you down so you can embrace one pedal driving. But it doesn't do it as much as I'd like it to. Even if I set the car to eco mode and have that regen set to the maximum, I still find myself having to brake into corners, which for anyone who's not driving an EV would probably go, well, that's normal, of course you brake. But for those who are used to driving electric cars, the joy of one pedal driving is that the car is taking energy back in times when you would be braking. So you feel very, very efficient in your driving style. This doesn't quite allow you to do that. If I come off the power, it slows down a little bit, but not enough for me to be able to just lean into it. That said, because this car does just really roll along a road quite nicely, I have noticed that even when I was on the motorway, it just doesn't seem to use up the mileage like other EVs do. Sometimes you'll see in town, you'll get really good range. As soon as you hit the motorway, the range falls away a little bit quicker than anticipated, but this doesn't do that. The battery really does seem to manage its energy well, and the systems that tell you how many miles you got left on the dash, well, they seem to be very, very accurate. All right, what's it like around a roundabout with some speed on? Yep, it feels predictably numb. There's not much joy to going around corners in this car. Steering feel doesn't exist at all, and the car itself does roll around a little bit. This is very much just your cruiser, a family car. Don't expect to be having electric car fun like you would do in, for example, a Tesla Model 3, or on the cheaper end of the spectrum, that MG4, which we have driven on track, by the way, link in the description. No, this is a sensible EV through and through. Oh, and here's the speed hump, so I can prove my point about the comfort. Smothered it out. Really good ride at higher speed. And of course, there's also that voice control tech which I mentioned. So, hey BYD, open all of the windows. God knows why you want to do that, but they can do it. Hey BYD, close all the windows. Oh, and it also knows which seat you're sat in, so I can say, hey BYD, lower my window halfway.
Are you sure you want to open the window that much?
Oh yeah.
All right.
So yeah, this Atto 3 certainly has enough unique features to make it stand out from the crowd, but it doesn't quite offer that great value for money feeling to me that some other cars of this segment do. The Kona electric from Hyundai and the MG ZS EV are both cheaper for starters, but arguably more importantly, it does undercut the Kia e-Niro, which many people consider to be this car's closest rival. So it's not overpriced, but yeah, those other cars do look a little bit more affordable. And don't forget, if you've got an electric car or you're considering an electric car, make sure you check out Cinch Charge, our special and very lovely purple card. It will save you so much time at the charge port or the plug, because this thing simplifies it, streamlines the whole process, and it looks this cool. There's also an app as well, which helps you find lots of charging stations in your area, and it even guides you to them. So that's our introduction to the BYD Atto 3. It's the first of 3 models coming out from this brand in the UK this year. We've got the Seal Saloon and also a Dolphin MPV. Yeah, the names are a little bit unusual, but it's clear that this brand, while totally new to our market, is onto some good things. It can't quite claim to offer a complete bargain of the class like, for example, the MG4 in the smaller category, but it's cheaper than its key rival by quite a sum, and of course, it has plenty of features that you're going to like, some of which, though, I'm not sure I would like, guitar strings included. Sorry. But anyway, good car to drive, not bad looking, and an interesting interior. It's a good start from BYD for Britain, I think. Let's see how many they can sell on our roads this year. They already sell 1 million electric cars around the world, so time will tell whether we'll be playing a big part in that as well. Anyway, let us know what you think. If you're a fan of this car, do let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, click that thumbs up button, and of course, get subscribing. See you soon.